The U.S. Supreme Court is letting the controversial Texas law that bans most abortions stay on the books for now. The law makes abortion illegal after a fetal heartbeat is detected, usually around 6 weeks. Justices are allowing it to remain in effect, but ruled that abortion providers can sue over it. The Texas statute is written so that private citizens can bring civil lawsuits against providers for violating the law. Today's decision means there's now a way for a trial in federal court. And that's where this case is headed next. And that unique enforcement mechanism has some Arkansas lawmakers looking to add it to our strict laws here. But TH311's Ian Russell breaks down the hurdles and resistance that stand in the way.
Abortion in Arkansas has been a hot-button issue for decades. Even as recently as this week, bills have been brought up to change the rules in the natural state. One of those bills, introduced by State Senator Jason Rapert, is very similar to what's now law in Texas, a ban on abortions unless it would save the mother's life. But legislation is already on the books for Arkansas. Governor Hutchinson signed a near-total ban back in March. That bill has since been blocked by federal judges and is now working its way through the court system. So what's next for abortion in Arkansas? It's tough to know, and part of the reason state lawmakers say it's difficult to pass anything based on another state's law.
With Texas being in another circuit, it's not as if necessarily what happens there would necessarily be an indication of what has to be the case here in Arkansas, which is in a different federal circuit.
But Senator Rapert says there's ways lawmakers still have to do this.
But what's happened is since we did that action and they stopped our bill from saving babies' lives, Texas passed the civil cause of action. That's a strategy and a new tool that we did not have available, that we didn't know that we could really use.
But how useful is that tool, and could it eventually make this law happen in Arkansas? I sat down with Joshua Silverstein, a law professor at UA Little Rock's Bowen School of Law. He says what the action the senator is talking about is Texas citizens' ability to sue to stop abortions.
Correct. Arkansas already has multiple limitations on abortion. This would be primarily a way to facilitate enforcement of all of those laws and any new restrictions that Senator Rapert puts in his bill. It's more an enforcement mechanism than anything else.
Going back to what's next, Silverstein says it depends on what happens in the courts.
If the Texas law is allowed to largely continue to function, then I think there's a good chance Arkansas will pass a comparable law. If the Texas law is largely eviscerated by the courts, then maybe they won't bother in Arkansas.
In Little Rock, Ian Russell, THV 11 News.